Hi, I'm Dr. Anasuya Jegathesan. I'm a senior lecturer at Help University. I'm also a thanatologist, meaning I work with death and grief and grieving. You might know, in December of 2014, we've had huge floods in Malaysia. 6 states have been affected by these floods. And this is in a flood-prone country. We're used to floods, yet we have unprecedented water levels. So we went in with a team of firefighters. When we went in, the waters had already receded for a few days, so we hadn't had much rain. Now, as we got closer to the area, from the trees, you can see the trees, and then you see the hills, and then you see a lot of red sand. Where there used to be trees to hold back the mud and keep the mud in, they've cut down the trees, and so basically the hills are releasing the mud, and where's the mud going? The muds are going into all the flood-prone areas. When you go into the flood area, you see mud, a lot of mud, and in that mud, and on that mud, and all around that mud, you see rubbish. Plastic, tins, anything imaginable that was in your house, all the lovely decorations that people had are now rubbish. Because all these are now damaged, you can't use them at all. So everything in the house has now become rubbish. And by the way, because of all these small, the small muds, the small landslides and all that, on the small roads heading towards kampongs, which can be like 3, 4, 5 miles away, the roads become a bit smaller, a bit less steady. So do you think garbage trucks are going through? Now, when we think mud, we think of like 2 inches of mud. But now the hills have released their mud. And you're not talking about 2 inches of mud, you're talking about feet of mud. You're talking about cakes of mud. This is the kind of mud, in Malaysia it's called tanah liat, it's like clay mud. So when it hardens, it actually gets hard. Once it's hard, you can walk on it. If you can imagine mud in your house that you can walk on, if you leave it for long enough, how are you going to clean it? How are you going to move that type of mud? You can't move this type of mud with brooms and brushes, and normal water. You have to move it with shovels. It's real physical labor. The 5 people that were there, they brought in the bomber hoses and the fire hoses, and they used water pressure. It's like a water gun, and they basically pushed the mud out of areas. So when they first point the water gun at the mud, the water just goes into the mud because the mud absorbs water. Nothing happens for a few seconds, and then suddenly it starts to bubble up. And once it starts to bubble up, then it breaks the mud, and then the mud starts to slowly move. And then they put more water pressure, and then they push the water pushes the mud out of the room. Now when this is happening, oh my God, the stench. I honestly could not imagine how the village people managed to move the muds by themselves, because the stench was terrible. When we think of houses that are like totally destroyed, like in the kampongs we went to, the houses that were totally destroyed were basically the wooden houses or the slightly older houses that were totally destroyed. But there were some places where it wasn't just the old houses that were destroyed. You're talking about brick houses, totally destroyed. How did brick houses get destroyed? Well, like this. Further up the road, there was a petrol station, and the petrol station had these petrol tanks. So at first, these heavy things aren't moved by the water, but when you got enough water pressure, the petrol cylinders basically came loose and mowed down 6, 7, 8, 9 houses. So people with brick houses have got no houses. Bridges that could hold trucks, solid concrete bridges, was now in pieces in the river. People are going in the small boats to and fro across this river, and there's stuff in the water. The bridge collapsed because of the rubbish in the water, or the wood in the water, or the logs in the water that are just piled up. When the water pressure becomes so high, it is strong enough to move these items, it comes through with the force of a freight train. It basically mowed down the bridge. You've got whole access to the area cut off. So is it cut off from normal help? Yes, it is. You need specialized vehicles to get to them.